wars will recur. They also help to achieve peace agreements. Where there's a promise of peacekeepers, we are more likely to see a peace agreement, and peace agreements that stick. If we look at the completed missions since the end of the Cold War, 2/3 of the time, peacekeepers have been successful at implementing their mandates and departing. That's not to say that in all of those cases, everything is perfect in the countries, but it is to say that they're no longer at war. This idea of using troops from lots of different countries, not to fight and win wars, but to help to keep the peace, was born during the peace negotiations in the Middle East in 1948. This idea was an innovation in human history. One of the main creators of UN peacekeeping is Dr. Ralph Bunche. Ralph Bunche was an American diplomat. For his work at the United Nations, he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1950. He and others came up with this idea of peacekeeping, that what troops would do is they would deploy impartially, so they would not take sides. They would deploy with the consent of the belligerents, so the belligerents would actually ask peacekeepers to help them implement peace agreements. Namibia is a country that has experienced tremendous hardship. It's had multiple colonial rulers. It's had a genocide. It's been victim of regional war, of civil war. But surprisingly, Namibia has not fallen victim to this tremendously difficult history. At the end of the Cold War, there was a complex and highly innovative UN peacekeeping mission, 40% women, and the main form of power they exercised was persuasion. Peacekeepers were there to help reform the political system. Nobody had ever voted in an election before. Peacekeepers were helping to inform citizens of their rights, of what it means to elect their own leaders.
We are very proud. This is an important moment for us, but a historic moment for the Namibian people. That for the first time in 105 years, they are able to sit down, their leaders are able to sit down together and deliberate on the future of their country.
In the complex missions in civil wars, peacekeepers are not only monitoring ceasefire lines, they are also helping to rebuild the basic institutions of the state. They're helping to demobilize troops. They help reform judicial systems, economic systems, so that when people have disputes, they don't have to resort to violence to resolve them. We know that there is a problem of sexual exploitation and abuse in peacekeeping. The UN has been taking measures to prevent peacekeepers from committing acts of sexual violence. Some people have been fired. Entire battalions have been sent home. We now have mechanisms to make sure that victims feel safe to report peacekeeper sexual abuse and exploitation. If we look at Lebanon as another example, the primary form of power that peacekeepers exercise and continue to exercise today is inducement. On one side of the border, we have the Israeli Defense Forces. On the other side of the blue line, we have Hezbollah and other armed actors. And in the midst of all this, we have thousands of UN peacekeepers.
I love my job. I have passion for mine action. One reason is to give confidence back to the community, the landowners, the stakeholders that yes, indeed, this area has been cleared. And if I can save one life, that means I succeeded.
UN peacekeepers help to keep the peace, not because anyone fears them, but they do see the advantage of having UN peacekeepers, inducing people to move toward peace. I've seen myself peacekeepers in action. For example, in southern Lebanon, we often see peacekeepers patrolling on foot. They walk around the local communities. They visit the markets. They talk to people. They'll talk to the imam. They'll talk to other local leaders. They'll set up a medical clinic or provide dentistry services. They also provide a lot of employment in southern Lebanon. If we look systematically across the cases, peacekeepers are helping people in their everyday lives move from a situation where there's war and violent conflict to a situation where there's more peace.
Ayatollah community is a theocratic communist setting funded by a group of believers known as the Apostles in 1947. Ayatollah community in its heydays has the largest per capita income in the whole of West Africa. Initially, Ayatollah community was 15 to 20 kilometer landmass away from the sea. But as it stands now, more than 10 kilometers of the total landmass has gone into the sea. And this frequent surge is attributed to emission from multinational oil companies off the coasts of our land, not minding the environmental challenges and disasters.
To establish in one of the Nigeria base, a lot of people you see in the offshore were trained here. Both mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and nautical engineer were trained in this bush. Yes, this bush, I call this place bush. And this is the Shepherd Technical Workshop approved by the IWD, which is now Minister of Transport. IWD means the Inland Waterway Department. That is the colonial time.
This place is like small London. So, and our primary occupation here is fishing. You can see now, everything now has been eroded. Some of our fishermen, they have went to other places to find for their source of livelihood.
We have been experiencing sea encroachment coming every day by day. And since that time, we have been making efforts, writing letters to the federal government because we are law-abiding citizens. We believe that we cannot engage ourselves in a radical ways because we believe that by protesting, writing letters, federal government can come to our aid. By the videos, a lot of things we have been doing since we have experiencing the sea church.
I'm shooting.
That area, that is the iconic worship center. Yeah, that wood. That is the iconic worship center. Over there, we have the community service center here, over there. Then at the same time, the major streets where other minor streets were linked to has been permanently submerged by the ocean surge.
I'm worried because this recurrency surge is affecting us in virtually all human aspects of our life. Social life has been collapsed, economic-wise has been collapsed, health-wise, nothing to sing and dance home about. Even our religious activities, our life, religious life, has been collapsed totally. Because Ayeto community is a religious setting. The church moved here. We have not just come here to trade or to do other activities. The church is the community is the church. So every aspect of our life has been totally, damaged by this current, recurring sea surge happening in Ayeto. Over 20 years, we've been into this. People have lost, several properties worth millions. Buildings has collapsed. Over 500 to 600 to 700 buildings have been washed away. Our industrial power has been collapsed. Ayeto community is known to be a self-developed community on its own without any intervention of the federal government or the state government over the years. Yet we kept on going. If by now the ocean surge as a result of the oil exploration that is going on in our offshore is destroying our land, up till now we cannot see the hand of the government coming to help and to rescue us. It is so sad, and that's why I'm worried.
Ilé ló kún bẹ̀, gbogbo ilé yẹn ni òkun ti parẹ́ pátápátá. Bó dẹ̀ ṣe ń wó ilé yẹn ló ń wó gbogbo àwọn ohun àlùmọ́nì wa, àwọn ohun tí a ní, ilé, ohun ẹrù wa. Ìmíì gan tó bá ń wo báyìí tí a bá tètè dìsámúra àti gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, ó gbé gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ nìyẹn. Gbogbo ilé.
Fund the trip of those guys down here. Trip of those guys down here.
Excruciating, it is extreme. In fact, every blessed day, people used to die because of the thinking that the community that was founded at their present has been eroded. So it is extreme, it is serious, it is harrowing.
Tell me, what's your fear?
My father's house happened to be the extreme house before the Atlantic Ocean. We lost it 2017. 2007, that was when we lost it. It's highly devastating. Even the one that belonged to my grandmother, we lost it. That was along primary school road. We lost it too. So I've been affected. I'm highly devastated. Now I'm a tenant in my hometown. Imagine how is it? Highly devastating. We need support of the entire world to save this community. Ayeto community is a community that must not go into extinction. It's a very serious situation.
The up and down. So the up is reserved for the male. Why do that? Because they want them to access the sea quickly because of the occupation they engage in. Then the downside is reserved for the female so that they can dry their fishes because the Atlantic breeze is coming from the up, so that the smoke will not disturb the community from up. That was why they situated the downside for the women so that their kitchen can be downside. So you have Bale, Abejoye, Korodun Aneroye, Adedoyin, Alebiosun, Bishop, Arojolu. Then so after Arojolu you have the information house or the glass house as we used to call it.
So where's the glass house now?
It's gone already.
It's submerged already.
So we have the happy informations regarding the Ayeto community. People coming just like you came now. All the informations you buy your trip, what you are going to do, when you are going to, you go back. So it will be documented before you go into the community. That was how it was done then. Then the city hall or civil center, there too, all of them are gone. After the city hall, you have Ojomo Street is gone too. So behind Ojomo, you have the church building, the church street and the church building
gone.
It's gone already. Anyway.
And that church is very important.
Very
to this
important.
community.
That is where they situated that night of January 12, 1947. They situated when they came in. Now we have Akinjoye, we have Ajayi. Then in Ajayi Street, you have the first Ogeloyinbo Palace built with wood. So that one is gone too. We have the Olowojayi. Then after Olowojayi, you have the shoe making industry.
There used to be a shoemaking
industry. One of the industry, a small scale industry. Then behind the shoemaking industry, you have the clothing making industry too. So that one too is gone.
It's gone.
So we have after Olowojayi, behind it is the shoemaking and the clothing making. We have Olowo Topa Oyinbo. We have Omogbenwa. Then after Omogbenwa, we have the carpentry workshop. So the carpentry workshop too is currently threatened. Half of it is gone into into the sea. And then you have Tobase. Then you have, after the Tobase street there, you have a mini supermarket. There's a mini supermarket there. So after the mini supermarket is where you have Oyetomi Street. So from the upside,
where's the mini supermarket?
This is just behind the what's it called?
But it's still there.
We can still find it there. So after the the mini supermarket, you have Oyetomi Street. So from the main side now, the main streets, Oyetomi Street is the only surviving street you can find up.
And it's been threatened.
It's threatened. In almost we only have just 2 buildings.
That is where my mother's father's house was situated, and it has been eroded.
Just 2 houses.
And your fear now is that this side, where
yes,
the female side might be affected.
Yes.
So it's like everybody has moved to this side now.
Yes. So most of the male now, they are actually residing with their wives.
With their wives.
Their wives. So the Oyetomi is the only one that you see. Then from the downside where you have the
and these broad streets, it's no longer existing.
It's gone completely. It's gone completely. Where you can have the broad street, the beauty of the broad street now, it's around the Block Palace. That's where you can have the beauty of the broad street.
Okay.
How it looks like.
All right. I think we're good with it.
ọdún yẹn chọ́ọ̀chì wa gangan the main church táwọn baba ńlá wa kọ́ ó ti wó àtúnkọ́ mi ó tún wó so ẹjọ́.
The church is where all the inhabitants of this land will gather to worship God, because that was the revelation our forefathers received. This place is a Christian utopian religious community for the service of God.
The landscape totally. Let me put it that way. Why do I say so? It's because when you look at the land mass, as at when our founding fathers came here, 1947, it is about 20 or 10, 15 kilometers to the shore. So people had to trek. I think Dr. Onoge wrote a book about Ayeto community, that the only challenges that the fishermen, because Ayeto is known for fishing, the only challenges that they are having, it is the accessibility to the shore too. That is as at that time, and it's been a long time. So it has actually changed the landscape, and we are worried about it. And the technical college, here we are now. You can see now these are debris, has been ravaged by the sea surge. Now that place, that is the bakery that we are using before. This last month, the sea surge has ravaged this place, and we've relocated to another place. So it is serious. That is the powerhouse generating plants. It has been affected, greatly affected by those sea surge. We also have dockyard over there where marine boats were built in the past. That place has been submerged as well.
So nothing to write home about in the community again. All our social, cultural activities has gone. The secondary schools has been relocated for about 3 consecutive times now. Nothing again.
So when you relocate, the water comes.
Urgent intervention is not coming any moment from now. The community will no longer in existence because 2/3 of the community has gone already. You can see the church.
If something reasonable, prompt action is not taken on the part of government to salvage this land, perhaps we might. We don't pray for such anyway. The community might go into extinction. We don't want that because Ayeto community has helped the federal government, even the West Africa, in terms of marine. Because when Ayeto was having a technical school, the Ayeto community has trained experts in marine engineering, in nautical engineering, and they are serving all the multinational companies that we can see in our offshore. Ayeto community has built the largest fishing boat in the history of Nigeria and West Africa. It was built here by our local carpenter. And those people that even built those big boats, they were still alive. Check Fishing News International. It's there.
Urgent action is not taken. Within the space of 2 months, where we stand here, we no longer be. So, and that is why we are appealing to the federal government as a matter of urgency and exigency to please come to our rescue, so that Ayetoro is a historic community, so that it will not become a thing of history. That is our appealing. We are appealing to the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Dito Sopadek, Ondo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, to please come to our rescue, so that this glorious community will not become a thing of history.
Tell me about this school.
The federal government, we are begging the international community, we are begging NDDC, we are begging all relevant agencies to please come to our aid.
Thank you very much.
Kan jọ kan má jẹ́ kó kún yìí kó gbé wa lọ gbogbo ilé ibi iṣẹ́ wa gbogbo ilé ìsìn tá ń pè church.
To the greatest city of the New World, and peace came to the world.
New York City in 1945, in the period immediately after World War II, it was a period of great excitement as well as great anxiety. One of the reasons was the creation of the United Nations. People had great hope that we would have an organization that would help us to not have so many conflicts, not have so much violence in the world. The United Nations was the concept of President Franklin Roosevelt. It was his idea that there needed to be an organization where nations could bring their conflicts, their disagreements, their challenges to an environment, to a setting where they could resolve them without resorting to arms. And that we would have a world that didn't have so much conflict in it anymore.
There were many who doubted that agreement could ever be reached by these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture. But these differences were all forgotten in one unshakable unity of determination to find a way to end war.
That was the great hope of the United Nations, and New York was already by then considered the capital of the world. It was the largest, most important port in the world, and it seemed to fit with the United Nations. And so to bring it here seemed to cement its position as the most important city in the entire world. And for that reason, the city wanted it. And also, the mayor at the time was himself an Irish immigrant. That was Mayor William O'Dwyer. And he believed that America was a place where people could have great hopes and achieve them, and that people from every walk of life, every nation under the sun, could come to New York with hopes and aspirations for a better life. And he made it very clear that he, as the mayor of the city, was very intent on doing whatever was necessary to bring the United Nations here. Ultimately, the efforts to find a place for the United Nations was probably the highest profile real estate transaction ever in the history of the world. And there was intense competition. Philadelphia, Boston, they wanted it. There was a bid in San Francisco to put it on the Pacific coast, and there was a lot of reason to think that Philadelphia was going to become the permanent site of the United Nations. Nelson Rockefeller didn't like that idea. And at that point, Mero Dwyer and Nelson Rockefeller were very involved in a very rapid transaction to buy a parcel of land on the east side of Manhattan of about 6 blocks long, right on the East River, to give it to the United Nations. And Nelson Rockefeller convinced his father, John D. Rockefeller Jr., at the time, probably the richest man in the world, to give a gift to the United Nations of $8.5 million. And the United Nations decided to come to New York City.
The future of this country and the lives of our children and our children's children are interwoven with the success of the United Nations. In it lies the hope of the people of the world.
Rockefeller was very much for the idea of having the UN in New York, having the headquarters in the US, but specifically in New York City, for many reasons. He was a big believer in multinationalism. He was a big believer in the organization itself, because he believed in this idea and he wanted the UN to be in New York City. The presence of the UN in New York made New York the political global capital of the world. And the city of New York offered a lot to the UN and facilitated the creation of the UN in New York City. Not only land, but also financial support during the time that it took for the design and the building of the current headquarters as we know it today.
When the United Nations was first established, they needed some place to hold a meeting. And in New York City, Hunter College, which was owned by the city by then, the city made that available to the United Nations.
Hunter College in New York's Bronx houses the Security Council meeting of the United Nations organization until the establishment of its permanent headquarters. These are the men upon whose deliberations rests the world's hope for peace and security. The former gymnasium has been transformed into a handsome council chamber.
It's a gym. There are baskets, there are volleyball nets, there are bleachers, and yet in a period of approximately 15 days, New York City workmen, electricians, carpenters were able to transform this into a beautiful setting for the Security Council to hold its meetings starting in March of 1946. People lined up overnight to get tickets for admission to observe the UN sessions. The fact that there were delegates from all over the world and there was press from all over the world meant a great deal to the Bronx and to the residents of the Bronx. Among the many issues the United Nations Security Council had to deal with in the spring of 1946, the first priority was Iran.
11 members of the United Nations Security Council meeting in New York hold a dramatic session to discuss the Russian-Iranian situation.
Our case is now before you, and we want it to remain there until a just settlement has been reached within the spirit of the Charter.
In addition to needing a space where the United Nations could conduct business, the hundreds of diplomats, probably ultimately thousands even then, were going to need a place to stay. So the city had to make an accommodation, and they determined to build a village to skirt a very sensitive problem. New York at the time was highly segregated, and many of the diplomats who were coming from other countries had dark skin. And so it was unclear that they were going to have an easy time finding housing of the kind to which they might be accustomed. And so there needed to be housing that would be suitable for diplomats at a time when New York City was substantially segregated. And so this village was the solution that the city came up with. And they were prepared to invest quite a lot to make it happen.
Parkway Village was mostly used as housing for UN staff, including at that time high level like Ralph Bunche. But the most important thing is that the UN wanted an area where its staff could all live together, no matter where they came from. UNIS, also the United Nations International School, had a school in Parkway Village where children of all these delegates, diplomats could go to school together. It was really a community that reflected the ideals of the United Nations. And there are still people living in Parkway Village today, and the residents are still very proud of the area they live in.
It's important to look back and understand what the UN has accomplished. It hasn't solved every issue, it hasn't solved every problem. There are still wars going on in the world. But there's also been a tremendous amount of progress.
I have no doubt that the United Nations is where it belongs. Still, New York City is the great immigrant city of the world. It's a statement that the city makes that people from all walks of life, from all parts of the world, every race, every color, every creed, that we can all work together and get along. And that was how the mayors who were involved in bringing the United Nations to New York City saw it, and I think it remains true today. New York
On the news, Senate passes state police bill. Oyo State government declares 16-hour curfew in 10 local government areas of the state. And court imposes death penalty on 3 men, including foreigner, arrested by DSS over terrorism charges. We're glad to have you join News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Joy Uchejem. Now, the Senate has passed a constitutional amendment bill seeking to establish state police across the country. The bill was approved on Wednesday after lawmakers considered and adopted its 26 clauses during the Committee of the Whole. The proposed legislation seeks to create a constitutional framework for state-controlled police services alongside the existing federal policing structure. The Senate leader, Okoyemi Bamidele, moved a motion to suspend the Senate rules to expedite the consideration of the executive bill seeking constitutional backing for state police services. Leading the debate on the bill, Bamidele says it aims to establish state police while retaining a strong federal police structure, national standards, accountability mechanisms, and safeguards against abuse. Now, a high court sitting in Sokoto State has sentenced 3 men, including a foreign national, to death by hanging, following their conviction on charges bordering on terrorism and arms proliferation. The convicts Yusuf Muhammad, a Nigerian, Jabi Alaji Yale, and Kabiru Muhammad were apprehended on 13th of June 2025 by the Department of State Services DSS Counterterrorism Unit in connection with cross-border criminal activities bordering on arms trafficking and terrorism. Delivering judgment, Justice Muhammad Bello found all 3 defendants guilty as charged and sentenced them to death by hanging. The court also ordered the forfeiture of all military exhibits recovered from the convicts to the Nigerian government. The sentencing is coming about 2 weeks after the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja sentenced each of the 5 suspects arrested on May 31, 2026 by the DSS for their involvement in the November 21, 2025 attack on St. Mary's Catholic School, Papiri, Niger State, to 25 years imprisonment. Now, in Oyo State, as part of measures targeted at tackling insecurity across the state governor, Seyi Makinde, has approved the declaration of a 16-hour curfew in 10 local government areas of the state. According to a memo issued by the Secretary to the State's government, Musibao Babatunde, the curfew takes effect from Wednesday, June 24, 2026. The curfew between 4 p.m. and 8 a.m. lasts for 48 hours in the first instance and affects local government areas bordering the Old Oyo National Park. The development follows a series of protests that rocked the state over the abduction of children and teachers in the Orire local government area in May. Now let's get more updates on the current state of affairs in the local government areas affected by the curfew in Oyo State. I am now being joined by community reporter Michael Oladejo. Thank you for joining me, sir. Now, what's the general mood in Orire and other local government areas following the enforcement of the curfew that took effect by 4 p.m. today?
Everything remained calm as at the time of speaking with you. Even before the declaration of the curfew, the residents have been cooperating with authorities. My grandmother is from that end, my maternal grandmother. And from the time the incident happened, I've been getting updates from my father, who moved my grandmother back to Akimori. And from the conversation I had with my dad some 30 minutes ago, residents in the area are cooperating with authorities. Even before now, there have been partial curfew because security operatives have already blocked transit routes joining one community to the other in the affected local government areas. So with the declaration of the curfew, it just makes it formal. As I speak to you, people are really cooperating from the information I get from my dad about 30 minutes ago. So there seems to be decorum, and they are also hoping that with this, the government will be able to rescue the affected pupils as well as the teachers. The curfew lasts for 48 hours. At the end of 48 hours, we are also hoping to get information more from that end. So as I speak to you, residents are cooperating from the information I got not too long ago, which makes it formal from the partial curfew that the residents have been experiencing. From the time when the incident happened, my grandmother told me that my uncle sent forth by my dad to relocate her from Esiele to Akimori. During the process when my uncle was moving my grandmother, the security operatives pleaded to residents at the time that they needed more motorcycles to be able to enter the bushy areas, the thick forest, to be able to trail these notorious individuals who kidnapped the pupils and the teachers. So the motorcycle that's supposed to be used to transport my grandmother was leased voluntarily by my uncle to the security operatives, and not only my uncle, including everybody in that area who have in their possession motorcycle. So they came to the aid of the security operatives before the government moved en masse large motorcycles to be able to convey the security operatives down into the thick forest. So from that end, there have been some restriction in movement, and
sir.
This declaration makes it partial, which people are cooperating.
All right, sir. So beyond imposing the curfew, what additional actions are residents calling on the government and security agencies to take?
From Ogbomoso down to Turkey, from Turkey, moving to the side of Esiele, because even before now that we have Ahuru, Esiele, and we see have Ahuru, Dada, and we have community next to it, which is Yawata. So those who are the real residents of the affected communities are still appealing to government to, within the powers conferred on them, to expedite action, to be able to rescue these pupils and teachers at the time which they believe will be right before it is too late. So moving to the affected other local government now, which makes it 10, the core is still the same. All local government chairmen in these affected council areas had met with the resident prior to the time of the curfew, and the appeal is still the same.
Okay,
that
sir.
even they are ready as citizens to even whatever on their own hand they can use to also support the government and security agencies to make. So the appeal is the same across board,
All right,
and
sir.
the hope seems high.
Okay, sir. We'll keep watching to see how the situation unfolds. Community reporter Michael Oladejo, thank you for speaking to us on the news.
Thank you so much.
Now in Lagos, the State Task Force has issued a 72-hour quit notice to street traders and illegal occupants operating along the Alabarago corridor of the Mautu-Badagry Expressway ahead of a planned enforcement exercise aimed at restoring environmental order in the area. The exercise, which will be carried out in collaboration with other enforcement agencies, targets illegal trading activities on highways, walkways, road medians, and setbacks in line with the state's environmental law and ban on street trading. Chairman of the Lagos State Task Force, Chief Superintendent of Police Adetayo Okerele, says the operation forms part of ongoing efforts to enforce the Lagos State Environmental Management and Protection Law and other regulations designed to maintain environmental sanity across the metropolis. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, has directed nationwide enforcement and impoundment of fully tinted vehicles, citing growing security concerns nationwide. The directive was announced during a courtesy visit by the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Afam Osigwe, and members of his delegation to the force headquarters. Osigwe also called for the establishment of an integrated electronic criminal database to strengthen record keeping and improve the administration of justice.
We have a security situation in the country now. If I have my way, there will be no vehicle that will be tinted in the country, and we are moving towards it. Because when I was the Commissioner of Police FCT, and we started the operation against One Chance, and we went all out for them, and we recovered 27 vehicles used by One Chance. 26 or 25 out of these vehicles were tinted. So we got the idea that kidnappers and those doing One Chance, in fact, One Chance is armed robbery, it's abduction. We are tinting their glasses deliberately for that. So it is not acceptable for you to fully tint your glasses. And only 2 sets of people can tint their vehicles according to the law in this country, for security and for medical reasons. And even at that, you do not have right to tint your vehicle so that as we have it around.
Let me state that in principle, NBA does not oppose the idea of police granting permit for tinted glass. But what we oppose to, sir, is the idea of turning tinted glass approval into a money-generating venture. We have to go to court because of the requirement that one tinted glass approval should be renewable. We don't think it should be renewable. If proper database is collected of vehicles to which permits have been given, instead it goes into the vehicle particulars. And we think that if you have processed it once, it should be there. And that if it should not be a money generating thing, and that the private company should not be able to collect the money for it. There's a need for us to protect our society. There's a need to ensure that the type of tinted glass that is permissible on the vehicle is so that you can see the occupant.
Now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed June 30, 2026 to deliver its ruling on an application by human rights activists and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress AAC, Omoyele Sowore, seeking the restoration of his bail. Justice Mohammed Umar adjourned the matter on Wednesday after hearing arguments from Showore's legal team in the case instituted against him by the Department of State Services DSS. Showore is being prosecuted over comments in which he allegedly described President Bola Tinubu as a criminal. At the proceedings, defense counsel representing lead counsel Adeyinka urged the court to release Showore to his legal team pending the determination of the bail application. Now, a coalition of youths within the All Progressives Congress APC in Kwara State has urged the national leadership of the party to review the outcome of the party's governorship primary election, warning that the APC's chances of retaining power in the state in 2027 could be jeopardized if concerns raised by stakeholders are ignored. Operating under the banner of the Coalition of APC Youths, the group on Wednesday stormed the APC National Secretariat in Abuja, where it submitted a petition calling for the endorsement of Ambassador Abdul Fattah Seriki Gambari as the party's consensus candidate for the 2027 governorship election. According to the coalition, Seriki remains the most acceptable, marketable, and widely supported aspirant capable of guaranteeing victory for the APC in Kwara State.
We, the member of coalition of APC Youth Kwara State, right, respectively, convey our position regarding the growing calls by youth, stakeholder, party member, and supporters across Kwara State for the endorsement of Ambassador Abdul Fattah Seriki Gambari MFR as the consensus candidate of our great party for the 2027 governorship election. As committed party loyalist and grassroots mobilizer, we have carefully assessed the current political realities in Kwara State and the expectation of our people. Our findings indicate that Ambassador Abdul Fattah Yahya Seriki Gambari remains the most acceptable, the marketable, and widely supported aspirant capable of securing victory for the APC in the forthcoming governorship election in Kwara State. We are convinced that Ambassador Abdul Fattah Yahya Seriki Gambari popularity transcends political, ethnic, religious, and senatorial districts in the boundaries. Over the years, he has consistently demonstrated an uncommon commitment to the welfare of the people through numerous humanitarian intervention, youth empowerment initiative, support for women, community development projects, and unwavering loyalty to the APC.
We'll go on a short break here, but still to come, France confirms first Ebola case in doctor returning from Democratic Republic of Congo. Details of this story after this break.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
When you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world. A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it. Use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Here's a recap of some of our top stories. The Nigerian Senate has passed a constitutional amendment bill seeking to establish state police across the country. The bill was approved on Wednesday after lawmakers considered and adopted its 26 clauses during the Committee of the Whole. The proposed legislation seeks to create a constitutional framework for state-controlled police services alongside the existing federal policing structure. Now, we also informed you that as part of measures targeted at tackling insecurity across Oyo State, the state's governor, Seyi Makinde, has approved the declaration of a 16-hour curfew in 10 local government areas of the state. According to a memo issued by the Secretary to the state's government, Musiba Babatunde, the curfew takes effect from Wednesday, June 24, 2026. Now, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Limax Raw TV and ABO TV, or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on X, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app from Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. It's now time for business news, and Victoria Konde is on standby. What's the latest, Victoria?
Thank you very much, Joy. Welcome to Business News. Now, President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to economic reforms and digital transformation, calling for stronger partnerships to unlock opportunities for young Nigerians and small businesses. The president made the remarks while receiving a MasterCard delegation at the State House in Abuja, where he asserted that greater digital adoption would boost investment, jobs, and economic growth. TV360's correspondent Okpeyemi Owosheni has more details in this report.
Home to an estimated 40 million micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, Nigeria is looking to unlock new opportunities for growth through digital transformation. President Tinubu says his administration's fiscal and monetary reforms are strengthening economic stability and creating an environment where young Nigerians can acquire the skills needed to compete globally. As one of the continent's largest youth populations, he says Nigeria aims to equip young people with necessary skills to compete and thrive in the global digital economy.
Since I assumed the responsibility of governance there, it has been a reform, turnaround that is very critical to maintain economic stability, resiliency, and ensure that Nigeria stays at the heart of Africa in all ramifications. We have embarked, I'm glad you met the CBN on, serious reform, monetary.
President Tinubu reaffirms Nigeria's commitment to attract investment and foster innovation.
I'm glad you've met with the people in trade and the team in telecommunications as well. How do we get the digitalization right and get the value for money and our economic drive, and not, sink in the pit that Africa is not, in the 21st century economy.
In response, MasterCard CEO Michael Mibach reaffirms the company's commitment to support Nigeria's economic reforms through digital innovation, financial inclusion, and cybersecurity investment aimed at expanding opportunities for small businesses.
Many small businesses that are founded today will have a desire to have a digital part of their business, and they don't know how to do that. So giving them tools to do that, capacity building of small business vis-a-vis just opening a shop. Step one. Step two, once they have they are becoming part of the digital economy, is to keep them safe. Simple and effective cybersecurity tools and cybersecurity hygiene. And finally, ensuring that they can start to compete and engage with their business across borders in Africa. So the connectivity part is also very important. For all of that, you need what? Working capital. So every business has a data footprint. How can MasterCard work with the market participants to create a data footprint that allows access to credit for small business, which is an underserved sector?
Based on my own personal experience, one of the areas where we hope that MasterCard will take the lead is just making credit cards available to Nigerians. So it's difficult, even for someone at my level, to get a credit card. Then for us as well, the payment system more broadly is an area where we think the economy can leapfrog if you're able to develop the payment system even better.
With the government pushing deeper economic reforms and MasterCard expanding its investment footprint, stakeholders say stronger public-private collaboration could help accelerate digital inclusion, empower small businesses, and unlock new opportunities for millions of Nigerians. Bayemi Owosheni, TV360 News, Lagos.
Now, global markets closed on a mixed note on the third trading day of the week as investors weighed improving sentiment in the United States and the United Kingdom against lingering caution in Asia following recent volatility in technology stocks. In Europe, the UK's FTSE 100 advanced 0.31%, supported by gains in tech and consumer-focused stocks as investors looked beyond recent market uncertainty. Meanwhile, on Wall Street, the Dow Jones rose 0.94% amid renewed confidence in the broader U.S. economy. However, Japan's Nikkei bucked the trend, slipping by 0.88% as cautions lingered after a recent sell-off in global tech shares and concerns over market volatility in Asia. On the foreign exchange market, the Naira traded at 1,395 Naira to the US dollar and at 1,865 Naira to the British pounds and at 1,600 Naira to the euro on the black market. That wraps up both business and stock market updates. Back to you, Joy, for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Victoria. And now on the foreign scene, France has confirmed its first Ebola case involving a doctor who recently returned from a humanitarian mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo and is currently receiving treatment in a specialized facility. The development comes as DRC battles a growing Ebola outbreak that has affected more than 1,000 people and claimed over 260 lives, with health workers among the hardest hit. French authorities say the risk to the public remains low, while the World Health Organization has urged calm and continues to monitor the situation amid challenges posed by ongoing conflict in the eastern DRC. Still on the foreign scene, the United Nations Human Rights Council Independent Commission of Inquiry has accused Israel of committing grave violations against Palestinian children in Gaza and the occupied Palestinian territory since the war began in October 2023. In a new report, the Commission says more than 20,000 children have been killed and over 44,000 injured, alleging that attacks in homes, schools, and healthcare facilities have caused widespread suffering and long-term trauma. Israel has rejected the findings as false and biased, while the Commission is calling for accountability and stronger international efforts to protect children affected by the conflict. And finally, on sports, the champions of the next season of the Nigerian Premier Football League will receive a minimum prize money of 1 billion naira, up from the previous amount of 200 million naira. According to reports, the chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, announced the new prize money in Abuja. Diko was in a meeting with top officials of the Nigerian Football Federation, NFF, and they also agreed to introduce a minimum wage of 2 million naira for NPFL players. And Panama were eliminated from World Cup contention after Croatia kept their hopes of progressing to the last 32 alive with a hard-fought 1-0 win on Tuesday. Croatia, who made it to the last four of the 2018 and 2022 tournaments, were looking to bounce back after a forced 4-2 defeat to England in their opening Group L game. In the end, Ante Bohidmer 54th minute goal proved enough to see off the spirited